I've spent so many years of my life grinding piano practice, but feeling like I'm not making any progress. And it's because I always believed that I just wasn't practicing enough. And so guess what I did? I would practice even more, but still, I just wasn't making any progress. Practice isn't about how much time you spend practicing or what you practice. It's actually more about how you go about practicing, how you approach your practice. And trust me, I have made just about every mistake in the book when it comes to practicing effectively. And so in this video, I wanted to share with you the main mistakes that I've made that have honestly stolen so many years of progress from me. And so hopefully these ideas are going to save you so much time in your own music journey. Okay, let's start with some quick context so that you know where I'm coming from in this video. I actually only started practicing seriously when I was 18 years old, roughly, right? And it's because that's when I discovered jazz piano, right? I discovered these lovely chords, you know, the extensions, and I found that I could really express myself through like improvisation and composition, and I just love that sound, right? I love that freedom. Point zero in this video, like the first mistake that I ever made in my piano journey was actually not practicing at all, right? I started learning the piano when I was like 12, but I didn't actually practice. Gosh, no, I didn't practice what my teacher told me to practice. Like, I found it boring and stupid. If you haven't actually started taking your practice seriously, maybe this is your sign to actually start practicing, right? And this video is going to give you a lot of good tips and things to avoid in your practice. But genuinely, if you want to make solid progress on your instrument and develop really good skills that you can use to compose and, you know, perform and improvise and all of these kinds of things, then you have to practice, right? You have to show up consistently and work on the things that you're not good at. Okay, so the first mistake is being stingy, not investing in my music education or mentorship or coaching, and lacking a clear direction, right? Shooting in the dark. This is such a common mistake that so many people make in today's day and age, I reckon, because, you know, YouTube is so good. Like, you can just go on YouTube, you can find so much training and education there. Okay, that's great. But the problem is that it's so disjointed. It's all over the place. And there's no clear structure. There's no clear pathway, you know? And this is exactly what I did in 2018 when I really started practicing seriously, right? I was just, you know, going on that video and that video and that video and acquiring all of these different random disjointed exercises and spending like 4 hours a day practicing all of these different exercises. But it wasn't focused towards a particular goal, right? And so by the end of that year, I just felt like I made no progress, like I got nowhere. And it's because I didn't actually invest in a coach or a teacher or some kind of course to show me the way, right? To show me exactly what I needed to practice to get exactly the result that I wanted to get. I looked at where my money was going and I realized that I had been spending like thousands of dollars on alcohol and other things, and I literally didn't spend a single dollar on my music education. And so you can clearly see that my priorities just were not right. You know, music is everything in my life. It's like so important to me, and getting good at the piano is really important to me. And yet I didn't spend a single dollar. I was so stingy. I didn't invest in any teaching or training or coaching or courses or anything. If this is you, you know, just be brutally honest with yourself. Like, where are your priorities? You know, how much does music matter to you? Is getting good at your instrument important to you? And if it is, definitely don't be stingy on investing in your music education. A really good teacher is gonna see exactly where you're going wrong. They're gonna see exactly what you want to achieve from your practice, and they're gonna give you the pathway. They're gonna give you the exercises that will help you to achieve that goal. So that first point of not investing in my own education led to so many other problems down the road. In particular, this second big mistake that I've been making over the years, which is practicing technical drills, but not applying them in a musical context. So let me give you an example with this jazz piano stuff. So one of the main things I've been practicing over the past year is developing my jazz language, my bebop language, right? This kind of stuff. Right, so being able to really kind of speak the jazz language, right? You have to learn phrases, you have to learn licks, you have to transcribe solos and things like this, right? So one of the main technical drills that I started practicing like last year a lot was these short 2-5-1s. So you have a 2-5-1 in the left hand like this. Right, so that's a 2-5-1 in the key of B flat major. What I would do is I would just run that short 2-5-1 and practice some short 2-5-1 licks in the right hand, kind of like this. Right, and I would just run it over again, and in the left hand I would change up the voicing. Right, so that's an example of one lick I would practice, and I would just do this over and over again. And sure, that's good practice. Like, you have to do that kind of stuff to actually, build it into your muscle memory and into your hands and fingers and your ears. But that's only half the picture. You actually have to apply that language in a practical context, in a musical context. And that's something I didn't do for most of last year. So when it comes to practicing things on your instrument, of course, you want to run technical drills, right? That's how you develop your technical proficiency, but it's only half the picture, So you have to actually, apply these things actively to songs, to composition, or producing your own music, or whatever. You have to apply it. Yeah, it's good that you can execute these things, but can you actually speak with it? Can you actually create with it? Can you emote with it? Because that's the purpose of music. That's what we're really doing, right? And so this is a big mistake I've made over the years, and I still kind of make this mistake quite often. Okay, the third big mistake that I've made over the years is stubbornly practicing the same routine over and over again and not adjusting. Over the course of last year, I knew that I was just practicing the technical things and not actually applying it, and I knew that I needed to actually learn some more jazz standards and apply that language into that musical context. I still didn't change my practice routine. I still got up every day and did my 1 hour of practice and just did the technical thing, did the same practice routine, and I didn't adjust in accordance to knowing what I actually needed to be working on. I've developed this kind of stubbornness in my practice sometimes, where I'm just like, you know what? I know I need to practice my left hand. I know I need to learn more jazz standards, but I still don't change my practice. I still just sit there and do the same routine over and over again for months, right? And this is a mistake that I still make today. The real mistake here is actually procrastinating the things that you need to work on in your craft. You need to have a clear idea of actually what you want to achieve out of your practice. Like, what is the main thing that you're working towards in your practice? Then you need to kind of do like a practice audit. Actually look at what you are spending your time practicing, the exercises that you're actually practicing. Are they in alignment with the goals that you are trying to achieve in your practice? Then you can adjust accordingly, and don't be stubborn like me. Actually, start working on the things that you need to work on. And I'm making this video for myself. I honestly need to start transcribing more solos, like genuinely, and learning more jazz standards. So this is a wake-up call for me as well. Okay, the fourth mistake I've made over the years is getting so excited about music and about practicing that I go too hard and I burn out, okay? This has happened to me more times than I care to admit. I'll be practicing for like months at a time, and it's like kind of feeling really boring and stale. And then I'll have this massive breakthrough, and it's like, oh my God, it's so much fun. I want to practice so many hours every day, 4 hours, 5 hours. Let's push it, Of course, I go ahead and do that without listening to myself and listening to my body, and actually assessing whether or not the season of life that I'm in is compatible with working, practicing like 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day. And most cases it's not, right? And so what do? I blindly practice for all of these hours. In 2 of these instances, I developed a certain feeling in my left, like wrist, right? My left hand. And I'm like, oh, that feels kind of funky. let me keep practicing, you know, so I keep practicing, and then, you know, a couple weeks later, the problem has developed and it's become a lot worse. And so I'm left with this physiotherapy bill. I'm left feeling just frustrated because my practice didn't really lead to anything, you know. And then I just don't practice for the next like 3 weeks or even a month or 2 months. If you're gonna do one of these sprints where you like practice super hard for a certain season, you have to ensure that the season of life you're in is compatible with this kind of musical sprint where you're gonna practice really hard, right? And B, you have to listen to your body. If you're developing some kind of physical issue, then stop. It's not worth it. You're gonna burn out. This is exactly the mistake I made, and it cost me so much time, right? I think it's much better to establish a sustainable practice routine that you can commit to long term, you know, long term being for the next like year or 2 years or 5 years, you know. And so that's currently what I've been doing for the past year or 2 years, is like just an hour every day. And an hour every day is so good. I feel like I can get so much done. It's consistent, it's steady, I make progress. And then the fifth and final mistake that I've made over the years is getting frustrated from lack of results. What I've discovered in my own piano journey is that there is this kind of delay effect where what I practice today doesn't really come into my playing until like months down the road. And that's kind of like how I understand the path of mastery. You know, you have these rises and then you have these plateaus, and sometimes the plateaus can be quite long, you know, they can be weeks, they can be months. But the important thing is that you don't get frustrated when you don't see the results. You just keep going, because if you give up, if you give into that frustration and think like, oh man, it's just not working, don't give up, just keep going, because that breakthrough is going to come, you know what I mean? And so I think the best thing to do here is to fall in love with the process, to fall in love with the practice itself, okay? You have to make practice an enjoyable experience, I think, because if it's unenjoyable, if you don't enjoy practicing, then it's going to be hard to practice, it's going to feel painful, and you're prone to giving into this kind of frustration when you're not getting results. So how do you make your practice, you know, more comfortable and a more enjoyable experience? Well, the first thing that I've found you can do is you can create a kind of practice sanctuary, right? Make sure where you're practicing is actually an enjoyable space to be in. Make it cozy, you know, put up these lights. Like, look behind me, this is my keyboard where I practice. I've got this nice glowing light that comes up. It just makes it more cozy and magical, you know what I mean? Have a heater so that it's warm and it's actually, you know, a pleasant experience to be in there. You know, light some incense, you know, burn some candles. I don't know, do whatever to make it a more enjoyable experience. Another thing that you can do is make practicing more like a meditation, you know what I mean? A time in your day when you can just like relax, you know, you can take a breath and just like breathe. I don't know, do some breathing exercises while you run some scales or something like that, you know? And then practice can be this really enjoyable, peaceful kind of experience for you, right? And so if you enjoy the process of practicing more, you just show up on a consistent basis and the results are gonna come. Okay, so those are 5 of the biggest mistakes I've made in my practice. I hope that these ideas are helpful to you and that you can actually save a lot of time and a lot of pain and frustration in your music journey, and that you can make really solid progress towards becoming a maestro, right? Because that's kind of like what we explore on this channel, becoming inspired, creative musicians. So if that sounds like you, definitely subscribe. And that's it for this one. Good luck, have fun, vibe and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!